Our next speaker this evening is actually a parent of a proud MSIH student, Kresch. Please welcome Simon Kresch to the floor. He will be speaking about how he thinks Darwin may have had it backwards.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. And where's the absinthe? I've come not to bury Darwin, but to praise him. Darwin's work, Charles Darwin, 150 years ago, Origin of the Species, his work has been characterized, and later on, he adopted the characterization himself as survival of the fittest. A bit different. It wasn't really survival of the fittest, it was the non-survival of the unfittest. Now, what's the difference? Is this a distinction without a difference, or is there something to it? Well, when us medical students, or you medical students, if there's A, B, C, and D, you could either choose B or unchoose A, C, and D. Why is there a difference? Well, I submit to you that the difference between the survival of the fittest and the non-survival of the unfittest is the difference between, we were talking about art, the difference between a painting and a sculpture. Now, what am I getting at? Well, after you get out of medical school, this is where you're going to live. You've chosen to go to one of the best medical schools around, and this will be your home. Now, what is the obvious problem? There's lots of grass to cut. How are you going to deal with this problem? This will take you a very long time, and tough on the back. So what do? You have this brilliant friend. We'll call him Adam, because that's his name. And you say, my dear, well, he's not that brilliant. He didn't go to med school, but he's pretty brilliant anyway. He's an inventor. You say, Adam, I have a problem. I have this huge lawn, and it's taken me forever to cut the grass. Can you help me with my problem? And Adam says, yeah. And he invents a lawnmower. Say, well, you do this for a while, it's an improvement, but come back to Adam a couple weeks later and say, can you do better? And he comes up with a power mower. And you are happy. You are very happy. For a few months. And then you get less happy. Because you still got to push this thing around and say, yeah, it's hard to push this around. Can you come up with something better? And he gets back to the drawing board and he comes up with a riding mower. Oh, this is a lot of fun for a while, but then even that gets to be bad because, you know, you have patients to treat, money to make, and this has taken way too much of your time. And you come back to Adam and say, can you do better than this? And he comes up with a remote control lawnmower that you can sit on your easy chair and you can control from there. And it's a lot of fun, works for a while, and then but you still have to go to the gas station, buy the gas, fill it up, you don't like that. So can you do better than that? And he comes up, of course, with the solar-powered lawnmower. Okay, and he comes, oops. So, he said, can you do better than this? He says, well, look, no, your complaint to him is, if you've come this far, why couldn't you take me there right from the get-go? Why were there all these incremental steps? Why didn't you just take me to the ultimate lawnmower right from the beginning? He says, well, you know, I'm a problem solver. You have to tell me what the problem is. However, my father is really brilliant. He designs things in a way that he anticipates all the problems in the following way. He's invented a lawnmower that is self-propelled, self-fueling, self-repairing, and can get into those tough corners and along the fence. He's invented his invention will do all these things, and best of all, it can even redesign itself continuously without further involvement of the inventor to solve new problems and deal with new issues as they come up. Wow. That is really super. What a fool I Why didn't you introduce me to your father in the first place? That's the kind of guy I want working for me. After all, I'm a doctor, I can afford it. Why didn't you introduce me to him? Says Adam. Well, he lives, this is brilliant. Didn't want to lose that slide. So why didn't you introduce, only 5 minutes remaining? Boy, time flies when you're having fun. So he says, why didn't you introduce me to him in the first place? And he says, oh, he lives far, far away. Well, how far does he live? He lives just over the horizon. Oh, really? Well, can't we make contact? Oh, he says, well, just over the horizon. And of course, if you haven't figured it out, Adam's father's invention as a lawnmower is none other than the deer. And as you've probably figured out by now, the inventor often goes by the acronym, or as you know, the deer is self-propelled, self-healing, self-repairing, can get into those tough corners on the fence, etc., and all that kind of stuff. And the inventor, just over the horizon, is often known by his acronym, G.O.D. Now, he is a really, really brilliant inventor, and he does all these things. Now, how is it that this G.O.D. does his inventing? He does his inventing not as a painter does his inventing and puts there what he wants to put there, but he does it as Darwin described evolution. And that is, they once asked a great sculptor who made this beautiful sculpture of a dog that you'll see later in the slide presentation. How did you make such a spectacular sculpture? He says, well, it was easy. I took a block of stone and I knocked away everything that didn't look like a dog. And that left me with the dog. That's not the way a painter does it. A painter puts there what he wants. A sculptor gets rid of what he doesn't want. Now, we human beings have been privileged or burdened with this oversized brain for quite some time now. As a matter of fact, our ancestors of 200,000 years ago were just as brilliant as we are. They didn't know how to use this slide presentation or iPods or things like that, but they were very, very smart people. But something drastically changed right around 10,000 years ago, and that is super agriculture, where we started growing the stuff we wanted to grow and raising the animals that we wanted to raise. Sheep and chickens, and here's our sculpture. And that is, but what's the difference between the way man designs and the way God/evolution designs? Our designs are headed straight for what we want. And we can't possibly anticipate the types of problems that will come up. Whereas the way evolution designs, by knocking things away, after all, what makes an exclusive school exclusive? The Harvards and the Yales and the MSIHs of the world. What makes them so terrific? Is it that they accept the best students? No, that's not what does it. Because everybody accepts the best students. It's that they reject all the rest. That's what makes them exclusive. And sure enough, the selection process of the G.O.D. or the evolutionary process is one that knocks away all the other stuff. And that's how you get this beautiful dog sculpture. The way we're doing things in terms of, can you guess what the caption on this one might be? What we are doing very often in deciphering the genome and the way we are treating people and keeping people alive way past when they should be passing on is the functional equivalent of pissing in the human gene pool. That's it. Back 10,000 years ago, when we began to write and we began to describe what we were doing, we described it by putting the following words into God's mouth. Genesis 3:22. And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. Well, what does it mean? I mean, that wasn't really an apple. But it was certainly not understood that way by the ancients. What does it mean, eating of the tree of knowledge, to understand the difference between good and evil? Those are the choices we made to understand in a godlike manner and to be able to actually execute in a godlike manner as to which species should survive and which species should be eliminated. The species we liked to eat should survive, and we raised them, and the species that either competed with us or we didn't like or threatened us, we eliminated. But after eating from the tree of knowledge, what did God do? God kicked us out of the Garden of Eden. Why did he do that? Anybody know? Oh, I don't think I'm allowed to ask questions of the crowd. But the reason he did was because there was another tree in the garden. And he didn't want man to eat from that other tree. But somehow, we have fought our way back into the garden. And we are beginning to eat from that tree. Let's look at the rest of the verse. And now, let him put force in the hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. I have a son who's afraid of his older brother. And he got mad at me once when, I'm sorry, I'll be done in a minute. And he got mad at me when he was a teenager, and he said, if you don't give in on this one, when you get old, I'm going to hook you up to so many machines that you are going to live forever. Okay? Now, fortunately, although he went to medical school, and he probably did at one point have that capacity, fortunately, he has sold out and dropped the medical profession and became an ophthalmologist. So I think on that score, I am safe. However, that is where we are. And as you can see, the theme is inspiration to action. But like my recharacterization of Darwin, I'd like to recharacterize the TED mission and inspiration to action. Because inspiration means, where the denotative as opposed to the connotative meaning of the word, inspire means inhale, draw in air, inhale deeply. I submit to you that not everything that we can do is something that we ought to do. And perhaps we should be inspired, and we should take a deep breath sometimes and be inspired to inaction. Because not everything we do, we can do, ought we to do, because the man we save might be, but better, is this the tree of life? Is this the tree that Genesis foretold that we are going to eat from and indeed live forever? Thank you very much.